Well, hello there, guys. How the fuck are ya? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. It's the last day. I'm excited, y'all. I hope you guys had a great work week. If this is your first time on my channel, stop what the fuck you're doing right now and press that subscribe button because you know you want to. And before we get started, I want to go ahead and put out my email address for those of you guys who are requesting a reading. So go ahead, if you're interested in scheduling an appointment, email me at astrowerld@gmail.com. I'll drop it down in the description box below. And yeah, enjoy the reading. So today's reading has been brought to you by Is Your Man on the Floor? Is he? And if he ain't, let me know, okay? Because I want to see if you can run it. Mr. C Breezy. I got a couple of requests to do a reading on his chart, and I kind of just never got around to it. And then this issue with him and Offset took place, and it kind of just made me remember. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I was supposed to do a reading on Chris Brown a minute ago. So here we go. Chris Brown was born on May 5th, 1989 at 12:30 p.m. in Tappahannock, Virginia. So this makes him both a Taurus sun and moon, okay? He has a lot of Taurus energy, actually, because his sun, moon, Venus, and his midheaven, actually, are all in the sign of Taurus. So given that he was born at 12:30, this makes him a Leo rising. So as a Leo rising, Taurus falls in his 10th house cusp. All right, hence that midheaven being in the sign of Taurus. And this placement right here just points towards him being a famous celebrity. A lot of celebrities tend to have a lot of like their personal planets in the 10th house, especially that moon and that sun, because your sun lots of times deals with your profession just in the chart, because it's your identity, it's your ego, right? So a lot of us kind of gravitate towards the house that our sun is located in. And then the moon indicates your reputation. So once again, these people can be very famous. They can have high status in society. And that Taurus energy, you know, Taurus is ruled by Venus. So his Venus is actually at home here. And that could definitely reinforce his creative energy, you know, because he's a singer, songwriter. I think he does art, like he paints and shit. And I did not know that. That's a hidden talent of his that he's had for a minute now. And he dances, so, and he acts. So he's literally like a jack of all trades as it pertains to the arts. And he has a very strong sense of like artistic kind of energy flowing in his chart, especially since he is a North Node Pisces. But we're going to get to that a little bit later. Now, I see that his asteroid Juno, which, you know, your Juno deals with relationships, the kind of issues you encounter in relationships, and it's conjoined to his Leo ascendant, which his ascendant is in the 14th degree of Leo. And that 14 deals with excess. It's a very karmic number. It deals with excess. Somebody who definitely has to learn moderation within his lifetime. And then when you add in the fact that his Juno is conjoined to his Leo ascendant, this could produce somebody who becomes overly fixated on their partners. Somebody who is almost like obsessed, you know what I'm saying? Like with the person that they're with. They expect a lot from these people. They become like, you know, they hold them on a pedestal even. And if that relationship breaks down, you know, this could result in a lot of nefarious shit. I mean, everything from stalking to domestic violence to just these just crazy situations to where the person cannot let go of their former partner. Now, I thought this was quite interesting because Chris Brown does have a known track record for being a cray cray. I think he even admitted himself that he's the type of nigga that will stalk you. I mean, and I'm even putting aside the Rihanna situation because I mean he had a mandated court order to stay away from her, so maybe we weren't really able to see the extent of the dysfunction following the little well, it wasn't little, but following their dispute, their physical dispute, right? But with Karuchi, his following girlfriend, they broke up. She actually broke up with him because the nigga kept cheating on her, and he actually had a baby while they were together. And after they broke up, he followed her. He would literally like track her down publicly. She'll be coming out from a club. And there's a meme, a famous meme, which the meme is funny, but when you think about it, it's not funny. Because he's just standing on the sidelines like, yeah, just say you miss me. And I say, what do you say? Say you don't love me and I'll leave you alone. Bitch, quit playing with me. Like, he is that type of guy. Like, and Karuchi herself even just admitted that he is like, something is wrong with him. Like, he is obsessed. He would even fight other people who even wanted to come near Karuchi. And this actually kind of is what started the initial beef between Offset and Chris Brown, because Offset's group member Quavo actually dated Karuchi at some point following her breakup with Chris Brown. And of course, you know, Chris Brown being that crazy, obsessed former lover, he naturally went on a rampage against anyone and everyone that Karuchi went on to date. And so, given that she was with Quavo by proxy, he's going to have an issue with Offset too. So, yeah, that's kind of how that started. But to make matters worse, his Pluto and Sun are squaring his ascendant also. And so this just reinforces that very kind of like domineering, aggressive type of personality, and just him being very brutal towards the women that he's with, very controlling, you know what I'm saying? And God forbid they get on his bad side. You know, he likes to be able to put his women in their respective place, quote unquote. And I remember seeing this because he would do stuff like he would snap on Karuchi like online and say stuff to her like, bitch, fuck you, you ain't shit, you ain't never shit. And, you know, also this placement, especially with this Leo energy and Pluto, can produce somebody who like makes women famous. Like they can get with women who are either already in the public eye, or if they weren't famous already, they can create a famous person. Kind of like Karuchi. We didn't know who the fuck Karuchi was, but you know, I went to sleep, woke up, the bitch was fat. She's a model now. She's an actress now. Who knew? But after she left Chris, he made no hesitations telling her publicly, like, I made you, bitch, you ain't shit, bitch, fuck you. And all this because she did not want to get back with him. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. And then his Venus is also squaring his Juno, which points towards him attracting very dysfunctional relationships and him going through a lot of scandal and controversy, because once again, his Venus falls in that 10th house of career and reputation, right along with his sun and his moon. And this could even symbolize the Rihanna incident because, you know, in turn, this definitely had a long-lasting impact on his career and how a lot of people, especially in mainstream society, view Chris as a person. And this kind of transformation in his identity can be summed up with his Pluto squaring his ascendant as well, because that Pluto is all about that death, rebirth, those cycles, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And then with his moon squaring his ascendant, also, this is just going to be him undergoing a lot of just like ups and downs in his reputation, a lot of scandals, you know, and because every time you look up, he either done beat a bitch ass, somebody done accused him of rape, he online fussing and fighting, talking about he gonna run the fade. You see what I'm saying? So it's always something. So this aspect points towards those like just constant highs and lows. Now, Chris's sun and moon are in opposition to his Pluto, which is in his 4th house. Now, that 4th house Scorpio Pluto deals with him having a very secretive, something about his childhood being very secretive, but also a very tumultuous childhood. A lot of people with this placement tend to either be subjects of abuse themselves and or grow up in an abusive environment. If I'm not mistaken, I think he said his mother used to get beat on or something like that. And obviously that could have a lot to do with forming kind of his mental state, because yeah, the fourth house represents home as in like the home that you grew up in, right? But it can also represent your subconscious even. So these people can grow up to kind of develop trust issues, or they can allow a lot of the trauma from their earlier years kind of interfere with the way that they perceive the world around them, the way that they handle relationships, both intimate and interpersonal relationships. These people can be very guarded, defensive, but then they can also be very just like closed off to their own emotions. All right. So this placement could indicate Chris Brown having a hard time even understanding his own feelings. And, you know, at worst, him being plagued by these intense, even obsessive compulsive feelings that, quite frankly, he has no control over. Okay. And this could long term result in a lot of self-destructive behavior. And this placement produces a lot of people who tend to carry very prominent self-destructive tendencies. And with his Pluto squaring all of the planets in his 10th house, there could also be this very kind of karmic relationship with both parents. So this points towards Chris not having his father in his life, number one, but it can also indicate some kind of dysfunction between himself and his mother also. And like, just typically with this placement, like, it's either that Scorpio energy either brings about a mom who is either very intrusive, very like interfering and controlling, or a mom who is toxic, you know what I'm saying, in some ways. And I remember a few years ago, he made the headlines because he threw a brick through his mother's window. Like, and I'm not in any shape, form, or fashion condoning that, because I mean, that's just Chris's bad decision, and you know, he makes a lot of bad decisions, right? But I'm saying this to say that there's something more than to, you know, what meets the eye as it pertains to his relationship with his mom too. What it is, I don't know, but this definitely supports them having some kind of like intense type of dynamic going on. Now, Chris's Mars is conjoined to his Chiron in the sign of Cancer, and it's opposing his 6th house Uranus, as well as Saturn and Neptune. And this could deal with him being, number one, emotionally unstable, okay? He has some type of mental illness. I don't know what it is, but this could definitely produce somebody who has an issue, some type of issue. But then it also reinforces him being under the constant influence of some kind of drug, which a lot of people, I mean, it's just common knowledge within the industry. A lot of people say that he is a regular user of narcotics. Offset just recently called him a cokehead. You know, it's something that it's common. Like, so yeah, and this could absolutely point towards him struggling with some type of abuse, you know, substance abuse. Then it can also point towards him being somebody who engages in a lot of just ridiculous behavior, because it makes a person a daredevil. And this aspect can even point towards him being a sex symbol, somebody who gains this reputation off of being a bad boy. And with his Chiron and his Mars being in the sign of Cancer, it could be somebody who gains this reputation based off of like women, you know what I'm saying, who gains this bad boy notoriety based off of situations that are happening with women. Another way that you can kind of interpret this is somebody who is going to encounter a lot of like just hardships, losses, even gain a lot of enemies surrounding women. And this could produce a lot of delays in one's career, a lot of hardships in one's career based off of scandal and things that are taking place with women. His Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus are conjoined in his sixth house of Capricorn. And this reinforces him going through cycles of like hardship within his career, okay? People with this placement can, especially with that Saturn present, because Saturn brings about delays, restriction, and just a lot of hardship and karmic lessons. This could produce somebody who goes through a lot of, just setbacks in their career. But the brighter side of this placement is that, it enables a person to kind of develop the skills and the tools needed to create what could possibly be a long-term, like a stable, right? A stable kind of successful career. And that's exactly what Chris Brown has done. So unlike people's previous expectations where they expected him to just blow up and be this larger than life. I mean, granted, let's not get it twisted. He is definitely legendary status, but it's because of his longevity. And that's encapsulated with that Saturn energy, right? That endurance, discipline, long term, right? The bigger picture, not necessarily because he came onto the scene and, shebang, bang, bang. It's like he's the GOAT because of kind of his ability to maintain such a strong fan base and consistent material throughout the trajectory of his career, and despite all of the other obstacles and distractions that have kind of, presented themselves. So there's that. And then this could also point towards him being very miserable in his personal life, very miserable, engaging in a lot of self-medication. This could even point towards him having some kind of mental issue slash addiction. And a lot of mental diseases as well as addictions, they run congruent to one another or parallel to one another, just because, a lot of people use medicine or what they feel to be medicine, right? Drugs, alcohol, to kind of help them alleviate some of the unpleasant symptoms of whatever illness they may be suffering from. So yeah, this could point towards that. And especially, I think they're trining his midheaven. Yep. Saturn is making a trine to his midheaven. So yeah, this could definitely be him just kind of faking the funk. You know what I'm saying? Making his life seem very nice and pleasant and like he just got it all together, but behind closed doors he's probably miserable. And there's a strong inclination with this placement for people to have been put in situations to where they're like they could have been taken advantage of by a male or a father figure. And we're just gonna leave that there. His issues with substance abuse is reinforced given that his sun is trining his Neptune. And this could also deal with him being very, very insecure. This could deal with his father just straight up not being there at all, or his father actually having some type of issue with drugs and alcohol himself. Now, his Mercury is conjoined to his Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, and this could deal with him making a living off of writing, right? Being very creative, because Mercury is, or Gemini is, the natural ruler of the third house. So, and it can absolutely deal with the media. It deals with the hands. So like I said, lots of writing. He's also an artist, so he draws as well. So you can see that there, and it gives him a lot of success. This points towards somebody who accumulates a lot of success by way of the media and those kind of, third house ordeals, right? And his Mercury conjoined to Jupiter also makes him a very, very witty, very entertaining and charming individual. Gemini Mercury people tend to be very, snippy. And there's this tendency with this placement to like dominate other people by way of your intellectual superiority, right? flexing those intellectual muscles, because Gemini Mercury's think they know every damn thing. And they might know close to that, because they are constantly researching things. And 9 times out of 10, they're incredibly intelligent, because they tend to be the type of people who know a little bit about a lot, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And they like to show that knowledge off. And Jupiter enlarges everything that it touches. So this could create somebody who is very much like, he could cut with his words, and you can see when he's online, when he's creating these little clapbacks, and, he could be somebody he can annihilate people with his words, and it could trend to a point that it's like borderline verbally abusive. And with his Mercury and Jupiter making a quincunx to his Uranus, this could absolutely result in him putting himself in situations to where he says some shit like at the spur of the moment, and then it backfires on him, and it possibly jeopardizes his career, or he finds himself in the middle of yet again another controversy, another hiccup in his career. So a lot of his problems are definitely self-inflicted. And so his descendant is in the sign of Aquarius. And given that Aquarius rules Uranus, and his Uranus actually falls into his sixth house, this points towards Chris not being able to be in a relationship in the earlier parts of his life. So more than likely, he's not going to find himself in like a very serious committed relationship until after the age of 30. A lot of people don't anyway with this placement. He's already 30, but whatever. You get my point. We'll see. We will see. And then also this Aquarius energy present in his seventh house, because seventh house governs your marriage, business, friendships, right? So this could actually point towards his inclination towards like gangs and shit, because Aquarius is the natural ruler of the 11th house, and it's all about peers and organizations, and trying to forge a connection with your collective, right? However, with his Mars and his Chiron in opposition to his Uranus, which Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, this could be him developing a lot of like hidden enemies, having a lot of hidden enemies that are around him. And these could be people in this gang, right? In his little bloody Pyru gang, who don't have his best interests at heart. Now, if y'all remember back to like, I don't know, maybe it happened a year or two ago, his house got, broken into, and I think his aunt was home, and they ended up, the people, basically it was an inside hit. It was an inside job, because they knew where he lived. They knew, how to get into his home. And then once they were inside of his home, they tied his auntie up and basically just robbed him and ransacked his house. And I don't know if there was ever like an official conclusion reached on that investigation, but that just kind of popped up in my mind. I think that he's being extorted. I think that he is definitely surrounding himself by people who don't mean him no good. And he's doing it all in the name of like looking cool and feeling like he's plugged in, and feeling like he's, a part of something larger and more meaningful than himself. And also, I forgot to mention this, but I think it's worth noting that the Mars Cancer people are fucking psycho. Like, and of course, this is a sweeping generalization, but I thought I should point out that, first of all, Mars is in its detriment in the sign of Cancer. So literally, these people tend to just think with their emotions. They tend to be very erratic, and these are some of the most dangerous people on this planet, because there's really no rhyme or reason to the way that they handle problems. You know what I'm saying? And Mars in the 12th house in like extreme circumstances, you can even have like a murderer on your hands. You know what I'm saying? And then when you add that Cancer quality into it, it's a lot. So this definitely points towards Chris being very just confrontational. Him having a type of just inability to really get a grip on his emotions and the way that he handles conflict. And this can get him into all kinds of shit. But then another thing I forgot, but I definitely want to mention, is his Neptune making a quincunx to his ascendant, which once again reinforces this continual theme of him having substance abuse, like substance problems. And he could even have like, I don't know, he can even be like negligent when it comes to his health, like poor hygiene. He could be the type of person to spend days on end in the house without really taking a shower, without like paying attention to his appearance. And I mean, because I've seen certain pictures of him where it's like, the nigga looks sick. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he literally was in his home for like a week without showering, and he was literally just at home just doing whatever it is that he does. And there was an article a while back that if I can find it, I will link it in the description box below. But they said that there was some type of leak from a source who was in his camp at one point, and they said that Chris was diagnosed with like bipolar or some type of mental disease, but they said that he does not take medication for it, and that in fact he spends a lot of his time at home literally just doing drugs, like neglecting everything else but doing drugs. Like he does it day in, day out, and he'll kind of rage and spaz on people along the way. But it's this Neptune aspect with his ascendant, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I'm saying? We're going to leave that there too. We're going to leave that one right there. And also with his Jupiter forming a quincunx to his Pluto, this could point towards Chris, his like, tendency to speak without thinking or react to things without thinking, and his just over the top, like just disposition towards other people, especially people who like disagree with him or who he feels like it's coming for him. He could create hella dissension and division amongst his peers, and he can even create a situation to where he has a lot of people within his own peer group not like him. All right, once again kind of reinforcing that like hidden enemy thing. But they don't even have to be all that hidden. He just has this type of temperament that naturally creates a lot of tension with other people, hence the offset situation. So there's that. So yeah, this pretty much concludes my reading for Mr. Chris Brown. Like I said, I never go over the chart in its entirety, because we would be here all day, y'all. But if you want me to go over your chart in its entirety, go ahead, hit me up at astrowerld@gmail.com, and we can go ahead and schedule you an appointment on today. All right. So with that being said, make sure you drop down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about this reading. Feel free to give any suggestions as far as which of your favorite celebs you would like to see covered in the future. And as always, make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And until next time,